just like the harbor chains were drawn. 3 barges waited, silvering in the dawn. They carried rye, lamb, oil, salt, and hides, enough to keep 3 parishes supplied. The factor stood and felt in sable trim, not loud, not cruel, just polished to the brim. One tapped the seal and smiled without a sound. Hold all the cargo, let the need go round. So shutters stain upon the storehouse teeth. The town walks up, a vanish underneath. A cobra sold his casks to buy a sack. A whale bought 1 scoop and carried husks back. By noon the rates had climbed another round. By dusk men paid for common grain by pound. King's Leech merchants counted by the pound. Stack up the hunger till the town bells sound. King's Leech merchants, civil in the face, bleeding a winter with immaculate grace. Lock up the flour, water down the beer, sell back the daylight at the dearest tier. King's Leech merchants, velvet over scars, they keep the keys and invoice all that's ours. Inside the counting room the fires burn low, wax dripped in red along the ledgers glow. No shouting there, no butcher's theater knife, just careful hands arranging other people's life. A scribe drew lines through villages in need, and circled where the wagons ought to bleed. A courier brought bad tidings from the west, washed the roads, dead axe in times to profit best. The eldest broker cleared his sugar throat, released 2 cocks, the gesture helps the vote. But not too much relief must still feel rare. Mercy grows cheaper when there's enough to share. So charity was portioned like a spice, to keep despair alive and double the price. That market apron topped with frost and yeast, the bakers cut the loaves down piece by piece. One made his crust, so then they sowed the board. Another mixed in husk and thanked the Lord. A fishwife swapped for wedding spoon for meal. A tannery boy sold off his winter eel. The broker's men went past in polished boots, buying up onions, leeks, and winter roots. They purchased tallow before sunset bells, then sold it back when darkness reached the wells. They quartered charcoal candles, wool, and soap, then measured every household by its rope. If plague king kneeling marked up every cure, if rumor spread they sold our gut was pure. Thus fear itself was weighed and stored inside, then ladled out with profit as its guide. King's Leech merchants counted by the pound, stack up the hunger till the town bells sound. King's Leech merchants, civil in the face, bleeding a winter with immaculate grace. Lock up the flour, water down the beer, sell back the daylight at the dearest tier. King's Leech merchants, velvet over scars, they keep the keys and invoice all that's ours. A groom from court rode in with velvet news. The queen required 6 cashed and 20 ewes. The brokers bowed and filled the royal dray. Then to the town the shortage came that day. A chamber feast went on behind worn glass. At home the poor burned broomstalk, dung, and grass. The candles blazed where falcons lined the hall. The weak gnawed crust too hard to count at all. A surgeon needed linen for the sick. The merchant sold them short and sold them quick. They bought the oaks before the soldiers came. They sold back scrap when truces changed the game. A grave digger asked nails against the dead. They charged him double as the graveyard spread. No weather done, no burial past unscored. In clothes like those each creep was bought and scored. Come Candlemas, the storehouse house door swung wide. The town saw plenty stacked from side to side. Barrels of barley, salted pork, and roast beans sealed in wax. More flour than hung their nose. Enough had sat there while the week went spare. Enough had waited out the freezing air. The broker said at last the roads are clear. The town looked on and learned what fear means fear. The wild old man spat and cursed them in the sleet. They had him hauled in deeds and in the street. A girl threw pride against the factor's sleeve. He smiled as if she'd offered him reprieve. That smile was worse than any dealer's blow. It held the calm of men who always know that kings need silk and judges need their wine, and famine makes the straightest profit line. Kings, leech, merchants. 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 Statute ends a slate. They do not chase disaster, they curate. Kings, leech, merchants. Patient as a mill, turning shortage with the practice will. Bar up the prattery, ration out the light. Least back survival by the week and night. Kings, leech, merchants. Satin over scars. They keep the key